Hello my beautiful friends. Welcome to Blow Up, where Reddit secrets explode into epic drama. Today we've got 5 wild family tales, think entitled jerks, selfish cousins and parking lot chaos. Ready to dive in? Smash that like button, subscribe and let's get this party popping. I want to preface this by saying my sister was not abused. She just likes to think she was because playing the victim is all she does anymore. In truth, she actually abused me. Physically, verbally, emotionally, and one time she even made me lick her feet. Our mother clawed her way up from nothing, went to college, got a great career, and did everything she could. But for my sister it just wasn't enough. And my sister never grew out of her teenage mentality. She's 41 with the mind of a 16-year-old on drugs. She invents new things in her own head, and then convinces herself it actually happened. My sister used to work at a small store and eatery. And it's thanks to her that we can't show our faces in there anymore. Shame too. Really good hamburgers. Anyway, for a while my sister had a part-time co-worker. This girl was meek and clearly traumatized. My sister got it out of her just how batshit crazy this poor girl's mother was. I can't recall any specific details, but there was clear abuse of all kinds. Emotional, mental, physical, the works. One thing I do remember was that poor girl forgot her lunch one day and called her mother for help. Her mother yelled at her over the phone, said some horrid things, and then dropped by with nothing more than a small yogurt for her, and expected her to be extremely grateful for it. My sister recounted this stuff to me while at home, and then reenacted her reaction to the girl's story, which was to overdramatically act like she was on the verge of tears with her hand on her heart, and say that she was having flashbacks of our own mother, and the things she did to her. I was clearly weirded out but ended up letting it go to avoid more drama. But that same subject about her coworker got brought up later. And that time my sister started saying that our mother did the same stuff to her as her coworker's mother. I finally had enough and confronted my sister about all the made-up crap she was saying about our mother, and asked her, when did all that stuff happen? Because I don't remember any of that. She just stood there staring for a second and then tried to play it off with a slight laugh. But I didn't let it go and said, no, seriously. When did that stuff happen? Because I don't remember any of that happening when we were kids. She just froze up and then walked away because she couldn't answer. She'd probably totally deny this ever happening too, because she either would not remember, or had enough time to mentally invent a retort. But that day she couldn't make up anything and just walked off. In another post I talked about how my sister didn't buy winter clothes for her kids in 2023. And I bought them those clothes at thrift stores because it was all I could afford. When I took my middle nephew out to buy clothes, we ended up talking about his mother. And I ranted many things about her to him. And he added some things from his side as well. The kid is observant with a really level head. And currently has no denial about what kind of person his mother actually is. Then after we were done shopping, his mother texted him. And during the text my sister started making up stuff about our mother again. Because that's her go-to when trying to keep people on her side. And right there over text my nephew used the same lines I did. When did that happen? I don't remember that happening. And then she just stopped texting. Like no response at all. I expected her to just need some time to make something up. But she didn't bother and didn't message him for the rest of the day. Thanks to my sister spreading rumors about our parents while she was living on the family property, my parents started getting the side eye from people. And were getting recognized and treated like crap. Once we evicted my sister, that all stopped. Like people don't even seem to remember it anymore. My sister was going out of her way to poison the well for so long. But she can't anymore. And my stress has gone way down since we kicked her entitled but out of here. Like, family drama just went to almost zero as soon as she was gone. And it's so much quieter here. I do miss my nephews though. But they're doing so much better since their dad took them away from my sister. Sis got caught in her lie web and froze like a glitchy NPC. I bet she's still plotting her next sob story while nephew's out here dropping truth bombs. Someone get this family a Best Callout award. Silence never sounded so sweet. That's a liar's meltdown. If you were OP, how would you handle a sister faking family trauma? Would you call her out like OP and nephew or let her ramble? Is she delusional or just manipulative? Drop your thoughts below. And if you've busted a family fibber, spill it. I'm ready for more blow-up-worthy drama. That sister's lies got smoked. Satisfying stuff. Blow up crew, your champs. Our next story from Reddit is a friendship implosion over a kid's project gone wrong. If you're loving these secrets, hit subscribe and let's keep the Reddit fireworks popping. Today was one of those days where you just think, wow, people really suck sometimes. I was parked, getting out of my car when the wind blew my door open gently. It barely touched the car next to mine. No visible dent, just a possible mark. I immediately acknowledged it and offered to exchange info. When I explained it was the wind, not to avoid responsibility, but just to clarify that it wasn't a careless act, she cut me off with, "No, no, no, something like this happened before and it cost $2,000. My car is new." At that point, it felt less like she was assessing real damage and more like she was trying to guilt trip and manipulate me. She even pointed out a completely unrelated mark further down and insisted that was from my door too, which made no sense based on where the door touched. And then it escalated fast. She started filming me and my toddler, who was crying in his car seat, scared and confused. She threatened to call the police. I was trying to stay calm, juggle my phone, pull up my insurance app and soothe my child, and she just kept the camera on us. I could feel my son's distress behind me, and that's when I lost it emotionally and called 911 myself. I didn't feel safe or respected, and I needed a neutral record of what was happening. After I gave her my info, I went back into the car to comfort my son, who by then was screaming and crying from the stress. I looked up and she was still filming us. I was literally just trying to calm my scared toddler, and she kept her phone pointed at us like we were some kind of show. That moment broke me. And it didn't stop there. When I showed her that I'd called 911, she told the police I had banged on her window, which was absolutely false. I simply held up my phone near the window to show her the call screen. She also accused me of locking my child in the car with no air circulation, which was so far from the truth. I was right there, window cracked, AC on. It was just another manipulative accusation meant to make me panic. She even lied about having the same insurance as me, USAA, when I first mentioned mine, but it turned out she was with Geico. Just more weird, unnecessary power moves. I know she probably assumed she could intimidate me because I'm an immigrant, English isn't my first language, and I look like someone who might not push back. But I didn't back down. I gave her my info, I made the call, and I stood my ground. My husband showed up by Uber when I called him, and for the first time in the whole interaction I felt not alone. I'm still feeling the stress hours later, but I'm proud of how I handled it. I didn't yell. I didn't film her back. I didn't escalate. I protected my son and kept my dignity. Because I want him to grow up knowing, we do not back down from unfairness. We do not let people shame us into silence. And even when our hearts are pounding, we speak up. Thanks for letting me unload this here. Just needed to breathe it out somewhere real. Karen turned a door tap into a blockbuster, camera and all. I bet she's still yelling about her new car, while OP's toddler's the real MVP. Someone get this lady a chill pill and a parking lesson. Win's not the enemy here. That's Karen KO. If you were OP, how would you handle a parking lot bully filming your crying kid? Would you call 911 like she did or snap back? Is Karen unhinged or just petty? Drop your take below. And if you've faced a Karen showdown, share it. I'm hungry for more blow-up-worthy rants. Those secrets were dynamite. Which one had you shook? Tell me below. I'm reading every comment. Smash that like button and subscribe for more Reddit fire. Thanks for hanging with me. Next time we've got crazier tales. You won't want to miss it. Catch you then. I have an 8-year-old nephew, let's call him Mateo, whom I love with all my heart. He is my older cousin's son, 27F, let's call her Camila. I've never had a close relation with Camila due our age gap and stuff, but I love Mateo with all my heart and Camila always lets us both hang out. I even took him on vacation to Rio Negro last winter. Mateo sees me as his funny aunt and we always text each other. Camila got pregnant at the age of 17 years old and gave birth when she was 18 years old. OFC, this would be a recurring conversation topic between me as parents, go read my other posts for context. They would talk about how she was a failure, how she was going to be a terrible mother, how the whole family was disappointed on her and, as usual, comparing her with their perfect daughter who was growing up as a successful woman while both of her cousins were going to be losers. Mia and I were 13 years old back then. Not gonna lie, I wasn't happy about my cousin complicating her life having a baby at that young age with a man with 2 kids he would never visit, take care of nor even recognize as his. My nephew wasn't the exception, but we've never gave up with her nor thought she was a failure. Even with all that, Camila was able to have her own beauty salon a few years later and now she's married with a man who used to be an old friend of her, with whom she's moving to Europe this year. We helped her as much as we could and she didn't waste her opportunities but made her life better. She just made a mistake that any troubled teenager can make and she didn't become a loser for that. Mia always hated Mateo, she hates all kids in general, and she was very mean with Camila due to her pregnancy and she didn't lose any opportunity to call her a loser or mocking her because she was a single mom back then. Once she even told me I was going to end up the same way Camila did just because of my high school grades. A few months ago we talked about family and marriage. I told Mia I wanted to marry and have at least 2 kids in the future. Loyal to her style of feeling herself smarter or superior to the rest, she told me my life plan was ridiculous and called me out for wanting a mediocre life. She also mocked me because I didn't even have a boyfriend to marry with, and then she started complaining about how kids were an useless waste of resources and time. I think she totally was projecting here, lol, and how she was never going to have babies nor marry because why would she want to mother a man? I had to bite my tongue to keep for myself the friendly reminder she was already mothering a good-for-nothing boyfriend. She took it too far to say that if she got pregnant she would interrupt the pregnancy because she wasn't willing to ruin her life, the same way Camila did. Well, as you can imagine, Mia got pregnant, or that's what we thought. One morning she came up with me in tears and told me she didn't use protection with her boyfriend once and she wasn't having her period. I got freeze and asked her if she even went to the doctor to ensure about it, and she told me she had reserved a turn already. Then I asked her about what she was planning to do with it if she gets a positive result. She responded me she was ending up with the pregnancy. I didn't like her answer, but I didn't say anything but, okay. She didn't like my cold reply and questioned me about my opinion about her decision, so I made my best not to be mean and just told her my opinion about her pregnancy didn't matter, but she insisted a lot, so I finally told her I wasn't supporting her in this one. She got furious and told me how I was a pathetic conservative I'm not, that just wanted her to be a loser, just like me, and ruin her career with a parasite. She was unemployed and already neglecting university here. Imagine calling the person who is literally your food ticket a loser. I literally just told her she could do whatever she wanted with her pregnancy, but I wasn't going to give her money or emotional support to get rid of her baby. I wasn't kicking her out if she terminated the pregnancy nor blackmailing her into keeping the baby. I just wasn't willing to contribute to her pregnancy interruption. And yes, I would totally have been willing to help her with her baby if she decided to give birth. I got angry and yelled at her to go ask her boyfriend for money if she really wanted to get rid of the baby, but I wasn't paying for her irresponsibility. She had the audacity of telling me she didn't want to annoy her boyfriend with this. I was mean here and told her how having had use protection would have been cheaper than getting rid of a pregnancy. She started crying and called me a manipulative then she apparently told my mother because I was called out for being mean with Mia knowing she was in a low point in her life. Lucky for the inexistent baby and for Mia I guess, she wasn't pregnant. Mia's out here trash-talking babies until she's almost got one. Oops. I bet she was like, condoms? Nah, I'm above that. Then cried when the bill came. Someone get this girl a reality check and a babysitting gig. That's a selfish flip-flop. If you were OP, how would you handle Mia's pregnancy panic after all her big talk? Would you call her out like OP or stay neutral? Is Mia a hypocrite or just scared? Tell me below. And if you've dealt with a smug family member backfiring, spill it. I'm craving more blow-up-worthy tea. Mia's baby scare was a plot twist she didn't see coming. Karma's wild. Blow up squad, you're killing it. Our next story from Reddit is about a sister's lies that got shut down hard. If you're hooked, hit that like button and let's dive into more family chaos. Sometimes I really hate the people of the state I'm born and raised in. I've got a truck, so I've been asked more than a few times since buying it to help friends and family move things. There's also a whole story involved in my buying the truck about the previous owner's ex-wife. But I'm not going to go into detail about it here. Anyway, last week the cousin of a friend, someone I'd only been acquainted with twice, suddenly asked for me for help moving stuff out of his old apartment and into his new apartment. He was physically disabled and needed a cane to walk. The friend of a friend told me his cousin was disabled from a bad spine injury around a decade prior, and had finally gotten a Section 8 apartment. They kinda played up the fact that he was disabled to get my help. So I reluctantly agreed. But then the guy was actually offended when I said I'd only help if he paid me for my time and gas. I think he thought he could get my help free. But this was a guy that was a cousin to someone I'm not even close to, that was friends with someone I'm barely close to. Some of my other friends called this guy a total Gary. Not sure if that's some new meme or an inside joke. Don't really care either. But I'll use the name Gary just to make things easier. So I helped Gary to move after he agreed to pay me. But he acted completely butthurt when I refused to help unless he paid me in advance. I'm not dumb. I could tell this guy would have tried to weasel out of paying me if I asked for the money after. So he begrudgingly gave me $100 cash for 2 trips of getting his stuff out of storage into his new apartment. But he totally lied about the distance we'd be driving. He said 20 miles, but when I put the address into the GPS, it was 35. I used most of what he paid me just to put gas in my truck because I made multiple trips of driving this guy's stuff 35 miles each way. That was 140 miles total. And I was doing most of the heavy lifting because Gary couldn't do any heavy lifting because of his bad back. The apartment I was helping get the stuff to was also on a third floor, and only accessible by stairs. So that was a lot of painful lifting. Once all the stuff was finally unloaded, Gary wanted me and the friend of a friend who introduced me to him to stick around and help him unpack and arrange everything. I tried to be nice about it, but he kept insisting and told me I have to help more since I gouged him for cash. I got mad and pointed out I helped him for several hours and I barely know him. If anything, I undercharged him. Especially since he lied about how far we were going. Plus, he clearly didn't even want to pay me to begin with. He'd have had to pay several times more if he hired professional movers. Plus, he was constantly rude to me the entire time, and I heard him call me a redneck garbage collector when he thought I wasn't listening. Then I told him what my actual job and salary is, and that I'm never going to help him with anything ever again. Gary got really red in the face and I walked out while he called me names and said he never wanted to see me again. I said back the feeling was pretty mutual. And now that he's so far away, I'm probably not going to be seeing him again anytime soon, which I'm thankful for. I've also told my other friends about this and they all agree Gary was out of line. And the friend of a friend who put me up to all that hasn't even messaged me to apologize. I was incredibly mad after leaving, and decided I was gonna get some beer and just go home and get drunk. I stopped at a gas station, got the beer, and then noticed a taco truck down the street. So I parked at the taco truck, ordered the biggest overpriced burrito they had, and then sat in their waiting area. As I was sitting there, I noticed some random guy in a plaid shirt just casually stroll up to my truck and reach in through the window. He snagged my six-pack of beer and started to just walk away casually with it. But I yelled at him to put the beer back. He stopped and looked at me like a deer in headlights, then tried to act innocent and claim he was just walking home with his beer. I remarked I'm the owner of the truck he just stole that beer out of and I just watched him do it. Then I said to put the beer back before started calling the police. He actually complained that it was just a six-pack of beer, and I could easily go buy another one. I told him it didn't matter what it was, he was a thief and an entitled one at that. And to put the damn beer back before I got mad. He dropped the beer back on my seat from the window, then gave me the finger before leaving. Someone nearby remarked the thief was a local homeless drug addict who acts like that to everyone. And he'd gotten his ass kicked a few times in similar incidents. I immediately. Gary's out here acting like OP's truck is a free U-Haul, and then Beer Bandit swoops in for the steal. I bet Gary's still whining on the third floor while plaid guy's flipping birds. Someone get OP a medal and a cold one. That's an entitlement overload. If you were OP, how would you handle Gary's cheapskate attitude or a thief snagging your beer? Would you demand cash up front like OP or let it slide? Was Gary the real jerk, or did Beer Guy take the crown? Drop your take below. And if you've dealt with entitled freeloaders, spill it. I'm all ears for more blow-up-worthy chaos. Gary and Beer Guy turned OP's day into a circus. Yikes. Blow up crew, you're rocking it. Our next story from Reddit is about a cousin's selfish spiral that almost made a baby. If you're loving these secrets, smash that like button and let's keep the drama flowing. Back in late January, my friend X, now my ex-friend LOL, asked if my kid wanted to join a website project with his kid. He wanted me to be the project's mentor, along with him and other parents. He mentioned that his kid had spent around 70 hours on Wix but was facing many issues. Since I have an engineering background and had been teaching my kid coding for fun, my kid was interested in learning more about website setup, something different from the JavaScript and Python he had learned before, so we decided to join. To manage the project properly, I set up Slack, Trello, and Jira. On the first day, X's kid, let's call him XS, created a Jira ticket titled Fix Bugs on the Website, but without any description. I spent a lot of time teaching the team, 5 kids including my own, how to properly document their work, adding details, descriptions, UI designs, and other specifics to speed up the process. After the first week in February, tickets were still not updated properly. Some had just a lazy screenshot from Wix with no explanation. I held another training session to show the team why these vague tickets couldn't be developed. At the same time, I set up the development environment, Firebase authentication, Firestore database, and storage. Then I built the website's landing page using Next.js. My kid worked on mockups using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I later ported those to Next.js. During our first weekly meeting, X suddenly asked me when I could deliver the website to him. That felt off. I told him the kids needed to study step by step, estimate their work, and then we could create a proper timeline. By the second week of February, tickets were still unclear and lacking details. My kid asked XS, "Hey, can you add more details to the ticket?" We can't understand how to develop it. XS replied, I'm busy with homework, then attached a bunch of screenshots to multiple tickets, assigned them to me and my kid and said we had 1 week to complete them. I told him, no, that's not how software development works. You write tickets clearly, my kid estimates, and then we identify the timeline. You seem to understand, at first. In the 3rd week of February, tickets got minor updates, just 1 or 2 lines of text. XS apologized, saying, sorry, I have a writing contest. The only significant thing he contributed was a Google form to send to the client. By this point, I had already helped my kid complete 50 to 60% of the work. Then X called me again asking if we could deliver the project in 2 weeks. I asked, where did this 2-week deadline come from? He said, because I promised the client. I told him, then tell your kid to remove some non-essential features for this release. A couple of days later, XS came back with an updated screenshot, but the only difference was that some lines had been removed. By the 4th week of February, XS had another excuse. Sorry, I have cadet. At this point I was thinking WTF. Meanwhile, X kept pressing me about the delivery date. I finally told him, I'm a mentor. I help my kid. I'm not the coder responsible for finishing the entire project. My kid also needs time to learn. X then responded, you can just do the whole thing and your son can learn later. Well, that's when it became clear. He had invited my son just so that I would do all the work. I called him out in the weekly meeting. You're not professional if you're expecting a mentor to do all the work. You don't care about the learning process at all. And then, X blocked me, unfriended me on social media, and removed me from the meeting group. XS even told the client that the IT team was causing delays and couldn't deliver the project in 1 month. That was enough for me. I deleted the Jira board, Slack workspace, GitHub code, Versal deployment, Firebase project. Everything. Then, unbelievably, XS asked me to give him the code so he could hire another team with $$ to finish it in 1 week. WTF. I just felt sorry for his future. My ex-friend X invited my kid to a website project with his kid, claiming it was a learning opportunity. I set up proper project management tools and helped teach the kid software development. However, X's kid, XS, contributed minimal effort, dumped vague tasks on me and my kid and kept making excuses. Meanwhile, X kept pressuring me for deadlines because he had promised a client. Eventually, I realized X just wanted me to do all the work. When I called him out, he blocked me, blamed the delays on me and removed me from the project. I deleted everything and then XS had the audacity to ask for my code so he could pay someone else to finish it in a week. X thought OP was his personal code slave. Plot twist. I bet XS was like, homework? Cadet? Good enough. While OP's torching the servers. Someone get this kid a worst PM trophy and XA reality check. Epic wipeout. That's a friendship fail. If you were OP, how would you handle X's lazy scheme? Would you nuke the project like OP or slog through? Is X the real villain or XS's excuses? Tell me below. And if you've been burned by a freeloader friend, share it. I'm dying for more blow-up-worthy tech drama. X's project flop was a masterclass in mooching. OP dodged a bullet. Blow up squad, your legends. Our final story from Reddit is a parking lot showdown with a toddler in tow. If you're hooked, hit subscribe and let's wrap this up with a wild finish.